Hi guys, today we're going to talk about step functions, which sound weird but aren't terribly difficult. The floor function takes in a real number and rounds it down to the nearest integer, and the ceiling function takes a real number and rounds it up to the nearest integer. Yes, those are their actual technical mathematical names, the floor function and the ceiling function. Um, and all they do is round. Now, there are some things that you need to keep in mind that one of them always rounds down no matter how big the number is, and the other one always rounds up. Also, we have to think about negatives and think about what does it do to an integer. So the floor function looks like this. That's what the function looks like, and then we take our number and put it into the function, and then we'll round it down automatically. So that becomes 3. If we take a number like 6.8, that will also be rounded down. So it won't become 7, it will round down to 6. If we have a fraction, 2 and a third, once again we're rounding down. If we have a normal number, a normal integer, something like 12, the floor of 12 is just 12. If we have a negative, this is one where people make mistakes. If we have negative 1.5, what numbers is negative 1.5 between? Well, it's between negative 1 and negative 2. Which of those is smaller? Negative 2 is the smaller one, therefore we're going to say the floor is negative 2. Now, you think that 3, we're just crossing off the decimal. 6, we're crossing off the decimal. It's not exactly the same. We're always going down. The ceiling function is exactly the same idea, but in the opposite direction. So if we take those same numbers, 3.2 should become, well, not 3. We're automatically rounding up, so 4. If we have 6.8 and we round that up, it will become 7. 2 and a third rounds up to 3. Of course, any integer will stay the same because when we round an integer, it stays the same. And it still goes the opposite way for negatives. When we're rounding negative 1.5 up, it's between negative 1 and negative 2. Negative 1 is the bigger number, so the ceiling of negative 1.5 is negative 1. What do these look like when they're graphed? Well, here we have the floor function. So this is the floor function of x because when we plug in 0, we get out 0. When we plug in 1, we get out 1. When we plug in 2, we get out 2. But if we plug in 1.5, we have to still round down and get out 1. When we plug in 1.9, we still have to round down and get out 1. So this stays when at the value of 1 until we hit 2. And once we hit 2, it jumps up. If we go the other way, once we hit 1, it stays at 1 because we still round 1 to 1. But then once we go beneath that, it jumps all the way down to 0 because the rounding down, and this was what we were saying with negative 1.5, negative 1.5 rounds down to negative 2. So it looks like a step, and that's why it's called a step function. Now the one on the right is very similar. Don't care. The one on the right is very similar. It also has those 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. But you'll notice that here we have it goes to the 0, 0, and then we go to the right, and then we jump. Here we jump and then we go to the right. Jump, then go to the right. This is because, well, once we start, when we have the ceiling function, then a half has to be rounded up to 1, or a quarter has to be rounded up to 1. So they look very similar, but this one has the open circle on the left because 0 is going to be the largest number that rounds up to 0. And then once we start doing the decimals between 0 and 1, those all round up to 1. Why would we ever use this? Well, for real world purposes, a very simple example is postage. And I got this from stamps.com, UPS, USPS, United States Postal Services. A first class mail letter for 1 ounce costs 47 cents. But as we add ounces, it costs 21 cents more. So the idea is that we start with 47 cents. For anything less than an ounce, so x is less than or equal to 1, then we would just say it's 47 cents. Then after that, it would be 47 cents plus, and then it's 21 cents per ounce. But if you have 1.7 ounces, if we have 1.7 ounces, well, what we're doing is you have to pay the 47 cents and you have to pay the 21 cents. You can't pay part of the 21 cents because you're only using part of an ounce. You have to go all the way up to the next 21 cents. So that means that we're taking the ceiling of x minus 1. Why the ceiling of x minus 1? Because the first ounce is included here, which is why it's x minus 1, and why the ceiling, because as soon as we go above 1 ounce, now we start charging the extra. As soon as we go to like 8.2, well, we're going to be charged this one, and then there's 8 extra ounces there besides the first one. So then we take 0.47 plus 0.21 times the ceiling of 7.2. 7.2 rounds up to 8, which is why we do 8 times the 21 cents. Thanks.